Yes, sir. Let's go, Auburn family. Let's go up tempo, gang. Sunday morning, Dustin Smith and Blake Lane coming live at you guys. And Blake, it's always good to beat Ole Miss, man. I don't give a damn what the sport is. It's always good to beat Ole Miss, man. How about some Tigers going on the road, getting a 10-point, another double-digit SEC road victory, man. We remain hot, and another 20-win season for Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers, bro.
Bro, 20-win season, and you got to look at the quad one wins out of those 20 wins so far. You're 20-1, and 13 of those wins have been quad one wins. That's impressive. I was asked last night, could we be watching the greatest SEC basketball team of all time? And I said, I'm not ready to go there yet because there's so much season left. But if you beat a couple more teams, if you go to Alabama, you get a dub over Kentucky, you beat Texas A&M on the road, and you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, yeah, you could certainly be thrown into the conversation, right? This team is spectacular. Just when you think they're starting to play sloppy and they need a reality check, boy, Ole Miss made some runs yesterday, and Auburn answered every single time. And I want to make a point right here, Dustin. I know Cooper Flagg is the number one overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. I know he is the future, and he has been the hype man in AAU and high school basketball for years. And he comes to Duke, and you see him flourishing. You see him growing at Duke. But please do not take this award from Janai Broome. Please, I'm asking you not to take this award from Janai Broome. This is a veteran. He's battled injury all year. And he come back like he never left. You saw him yesterday. Auburn needed a bucket. Time dwindling down right before half. Step back three. Turns to the student section. Call God.
It was big shot.
Big shot. Gave you all the momentum going into the half. Please, whatever you do, do not take this from Janai Broome. I know Duke is they're the image of college basketball, right? The history with Coach K and all the great players and all the national championships. And poor little old Auburn ain't even got double digit. Well, now we got double digit 20-win seasons.
Yes, sir.
It took us over 100+ years to get there, but now we got it. And we know Duke is the darling. They're the face of college basketball. They're one of the true blue bloods. And Auburn's currently, a new face in the blue blood department. So I get why Cooper gets the media attention. But please, once again, don't take it away from Janai, because what he's doing is unmatched in my opinion right now. Another double-double yesterday. You can still see him favoring the ankle, but he's still pushing through for his teammates, hitting big shots, grabbing boards, man, doing everything, stepping up to the free throw line and hitting clutch free throws. He's the best player in the country. And it's time we, instead of saying Joe Goodman saying that Cooper Flagg is the front runner, we need to switch that up and say Janai Broome is the front runner, because he's the best player in the country. I'm not talking about the best NBA prospect. I'm talking about the best player in college basketball. And it's going to piss me off if Janai doesn't win this award, because it's going to show, in my opinion, the favoritism that a Duke would get over an Auburn. And that's not a knock to Cooper Flagg. And that's not a knock to the Duke program. That's not a knock to our guys over at the 5 Point Play podcast. I love Duke, all right? I think Auburn playing there was great for us, and I think it was great for college basketball. But Janai is the guy, and he's the answer for this award. So don't take it from me. That's been weighing on me.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And Cooper Flagg, like you said, great NBA prospect, hell of a player, not taking anything away from him. I just think that Janai affects the game in so many ways. I mean, I look at yesterday, 4 assists. right? And shout out to Dylan Carwell, who had 4 assists and no turnovers. He was moving the ball well. But, I mean, Janai just his ability to pass, you talk about that 3 right before the half, his game has improved so much. It's like you see the defender saying, okay, I'm not going to let you get to the basket on me here with 6, 7 seconds to go. And Janai says, that's fine. I'll hit you with a step back then. A lot of times we'll dump the ball down to him in the post. Here comes the trap. They're going to double team him. And he's finding the open guy. And yesterday, those guys were knocking it down. Auburn goes 14 for 28 from deep. It was really good to see Denver come out strong early. He had a couple of forced turnovers for like shot clock violations. I think he had a block at one point down there in the paint. And then obviously he got it going on the offensive end, hit a couple tough twos that got him going from deep. So Janai, he affects so many different things, and I get it. If you're Chris Beard, what are you supposed to do? Because you're going to double, because obviously there was a mismatch yesterday from the power forward and the center position. Like Auburn had the advantage in the front court. Ole Miss just didn't have the dogs, didn't have the horses to compete in that race. But so you say, okay, well, we're going to double team Janai, we're going to double team Dylan, and then you get 8 assists from those two, and then who are they throwing it out to? Oh, they're throwing it out to Miles Kelly. They're throwing it out to Denver Jones. They're throwing it out to Tahad Pettiford, guys that are going to knock down the shot. So it would just really took advantage of that mismatch yesterday. And we talk about all season, and I can't leave out CBM. They had a nice game too. We talk all season about Auburn's versatility. We saw Auburn win a 53-51 game versus Tennessee. You saw yesterday a good Florida team wasn't able to get to that mark versus Tennessee. What, Florida ended up scoring 40-something? Like, they didn't even get over the 50 mark. Auburn shows you we can win that kind of game. And then they get in a little bit of a shootout yesterday versus Ole Miss. Auburn doesn't want to give up plus 80 on the defensive end. Bruce Pearl doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Give up 2 to Ole Miss, but you still win by 10 because you scored 92 because you shot 14 for 28 from deep. And here's the thing. That's just because that's what was given to him. If Ole Miss would have said, all right, we're going to come out here and make sure Miles Kelly, make sure CBM, make sure Denver Jones, make sure Tahad don't get going from deep, well, then Janai just would have had 35. The whole reason that Janai, I know he had, like, I'm not saying he didn't struggle somewhat shooting in the second half. He did. That shoulder probably got a little bit sore there.
Mm-hmm.
But one, he steps up and hits the big bucket, like to kind of seal the deal. And then he makes those 2 big free throws. But also just they kind of took him away. So he's smart enough to know that's fine. I've got 4 other guys that can eat. And Bruce says it all the time. Janai just wants to win the game. And Chris Beard said in his post game, he just said, listen, well, I thought we played a great game. I don't think anybody's beating Auburn when they play like that. So
we gave up a 30 nugget.
Yeah.
They had old boy, I mean, what'd he go, 29? He scored 29 yesterday. Ole Miss is a good basketball team. And Ronnie, whatever you're sipping on over here in this comment section,
first time
look, I'm lost.
Yeah,
I'm lost. Look, Ole Miss they're a good basketball team. Do they have the dogs to match up with Auburn? No. I think you got Ole Miss's A-plus effort yesterday, and you still come out with a double-digit dub. The pavilion was rocking. All right, Chris Beard has created an elite atmosphere there. That student section was loud. That place, it wasn't quiet. All right. When they made a run, you answered every single run. When it got tight, late, that last 7 minutes, it was Auburn up 8, Ole Miss cuts it to 4, Auburn goes back up 9, Ole Miss cuts it back to 4, Auburn goes back up 8, Ole Miss cuts it back to 4. Every 30 seconds, bro, it was right back and forth. It was Auburn bucket, Ole Miss bucket, Auburn miss, Ole Miss bucket, Auburn 3, Ole Miss miss, Auburn bucket. It was back and forth the entire last 7 minutes. And you got Ole Miss's A-plus run right there. And you answered every single time. Shout out to Denver Jones and what he did early in the game. I thought he was phenomenal. I think he really needed that game because there were some offensive performances from Denver where we were like, hey, you got to step up. Yesterday, he stepped up. He answered the call. Once again, That's the difference in this Auburn team. Like you mentioned about Chris Beard, he says when Auburn plays like that, I don't see anybody beating Auburn because you have so many options. You have so many guys on this team that can go off. Y'all, I'm sorry, but I disagreed with a tweet last night about Tahad. Hope posted a tweet and said, man, when Tahad's in the game, it just looks like Auburn doesn't move the basketball near as much. Y'all, Tahad is a creator. When Tahad is in the game, he is trying to create. He does go ISO a lot. But I think that's towards the end of the game where Bruce says, hey, man, I need a bucket. Go create a bucket. He's a facilitator as well. When he creates, it draws. It draws the defense. He kicks it. Bang. That's Tahad's game, man. You're not going to see a lot of motion and stuff when Tahad's out there late and Auburn needs a bucket. He's just a guy that can get to his spot and create his own shot. That's Tahad. And I realize we're up double digits in a ranked environment on the road. And I tell you what, Auburn fans are still going to find a way to complain about something.
Yeah, you ain't lying about that, really.
We're always going to find a way to complain about something. Boy, we could have been waxing ass by 30 yesterday, and there could have been a complaint somewhere be found about this team. Man, we better appreciate what we're watching because the other night I said, hey, that LSU game, I thought we were sleepwalking. I was like, maybe Auburn needs to see some adversity. And I tell you what, when Ole Miss put it on you, they started matching you every step of the way. You said, hold on 1 minute. We're the king of the court. We're the big dog. It ain't going down like this. And I thought you faced some yesterday, and you answered the call. Unanimous number one team in the country going on 3 straight weeks. Unanimous, all right? That means nobody else gets a vote. You get all the first place votes. This is the 3rd straight week. Unanimous number one AP team in the country. Never happened in Auburn history. Never. This team's special.
It's fun, man. It's fun. We knew this was going to be a good year. I don't think we quite anticipated this. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the journey, though, and just kind of enjoy this ride because, I mean, you know, and Dylan talked about it in the post game. And shout out to Dylan for stepping up and making 2 big free throws, man. Dylan had a great game yesterday. But Dylan just kind of talked about the just the resiliency of this team, and they have a goal. And last year didn't end the way that they wanted it to end. And he talked about how Bruce Pearl will coach you hard, and you got to be ready for that. And this team has embraced embraced Bruce Pearl's mindset, and you kind of see them. You know, we talk about it a lot in football, man. You know, Jim Harbaugh is a good example of this on the football side of a team embodying its coach's mentality, right? And I think you see that from this Auburn team. And, you know, they're just, again, I'm just really amazed at their ability to win any kind of fight, just be able to execute. And, you know, you're on the road in LSU and, this is a trap game. Auburn should be looking ahead to the weekend matchup versus Ole Miss. No, Ole Miss hangs around, or excuse me, LSU hangs around. They get it down to 6, 5 a couple times. Oh, all right, foot on the throat. We'll go to our big man when we have to. And then last night, Ole Miss says, you know what? We're going to try to eliminate Janai Broome on the offensive end. He's not going to eat down low. Okay, that's fine. We'll hit 14 threes in your head. We'll shoot 50% from deep on the road versus a Chris Beard coach team. And he's building a great program, and they had a great crowd and all that. So it was a fun matchup, man. But look, as you see right there on your screen, Tigers have now won 7 in a row over the Rebel, Landshart, Black Bears, whatever the hell they got going on over there.
Yeah.
But it's 7 in a row. And I want to address this real quick because I don't like misinformation in the comments. Ronnie Pillsap, who was probably taking a bit too many pills this morning, says Broome gives up 30 pieces more than any big man in the country. I think that's 5 now. He's had someone put him on his head. Well, let's just go back. I mean, we're not going to go back through every game, but let's go back to the last 2 games since his injury. Versus Tennessee. Did anybody from Tennessee score 30 points? No. No, they didn't. Janai played fine defensively that game. Did anybody from LSU score 30 points? No, they didn't. And the guy that was going off, Carter, is not a Janai Broome one-on-one matchup. So is defense the strength of Janai Broome's game? No. But this idea that people are consistently dropping 30 pieces on his head, that's just inaccurate. The stats don't bear that out. And they're not even – no one's dropped 30 on his head lately, even when he's been injured. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, but we've never seen any comments before, brother. And you might just be an Ole Miss fan that's a little bit salty and all that. You're going to be okay, man. Y'all will beat us one day, brother. Y'all might get us one day down the line.
Or he might be an Alabama fan.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that. They pop up no matter what.
You obviously
Ole Miss reaction show.
You obviously didn't watch the game yesterday because Padula is a 6'1" guard. So
yeah, I wasn't guarding him 1-on-1.
Yeah, I don't. If you watch the game, I didn't see Janai on Padula much, and some of those shots, you just gotta shake his hand and say, "Hey, brother, tip the cap." Like, you did that, Like some of those shots, I was like, "Yeah, no way that goes in." Oh my god! Like, that's just the game, man. He had the hot hand. That was nothing on Janai Broome.
Yeah, the starting power forward for Ole Miss had 9 yesterday in 32 minutes, Blake, and 4 rebounds. I would say that Janai worked him.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Now, look, hey, I love trolling. I do. I think it's great, but you gotta throw some facts in there. You can't throw misinformation if you want to troll. But hey, February 15th, Ronnie it's gonna be electric. It's gonna be one of the greatest basketball moments in this state's history. So get ready for it, man.
Like you mentioned, Blake, he could just be one of these Auburn fans that I saw yesterday when it was a tight game early. This is my favorite thing. Seeing on social media and stuff, or people text me, "What is going on?" I said, "We're playing a top 25 team on the road, and it's a close game. Nothing's going on."
Facts.
It's a basketball game. You're not going to win by 30 every time, especially in this league. Playing best team in the country, man. You're going to take everybody's best shot. They camped out, all that kind of stuff. Great atmosphere. You still win by 10. I want to get over here to some of these comments, man, before we get out of here. Let's not get spoiled now. Let's not get so spoiled that we can't enjoy these dubs. Reed says, "Bro, we still didn't play as well as we should have, and we dropped 92 on a top 10 defense at their house. Y'all, we're so good." Yeah, I've been listening to the opposing coaches' press conferences lately. I don't really normally do that, but I just kind of want to hear because they all just kind of say, "Hey, we did everything that we practiced, and we did the best we could." And you just kind of have to pick your poison versus Auburn, and they're going to get you. So, yeah, I hear you, Reed. This that's why I agree with Blake's take last week. Just Final Four a bust for this team. Anything other than that would be a disappointment because this team is just that good by every metric and everything that you look at.
Brother, I posted a clip on TikTok, and it was that clip of me saying, Final Four bust. What would people say if we got knocked out of the Sweet 16 and Alabama made the Final Four or the Elite Eight back-to-back years? First comment, "That's all y'all think about is Alabama. That's it." No, it's not all I think about, but I do like to compare what both programs are doing. And I do think we're that good. That's why I disagreed with C5. Because I think this team is dominant. And I look back at previous national championships. Who has been the dominant dog in years past? So yesterday I was just like, let me go back and look. And y'all, yes, were there upsets? Were there times where the best team didn't make it? There were. But there was also times where the best teams did make it and they dominated. There's Cinderella stories, but they don't happen often. So dominant teams like Auburn, like Duke this year, like Iowa State, I know they're not healthy and they're starting to lose a little bit. It happens. I think Alabama is in that tier. They go far, man, and that's why I'm not okay with Sweet 16. I think this Auburn team has the potential to win it all because of guys like Chad Baker, Miles Kelly, Tahad Pettiford, Denver Jones. That's why I'm not okay with Sweet 16 at all. I would be more pissed off if we got beat out in the Sweet 16 than I was last year with Yale. I was over the Yale stuff like a week later. I was like, okay, it happened. It's over. If we lost in the Sweet 16 this year, I would be extremely pissed. Um, I wouldn't be happy just because of the dominance.
But say just the potential, right? Like what this team's capable of. That's why you're holding them to such a high expectation. Like look at the wins. look at the resume. We're dominating, man.
That's my thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, buddy. Caldwell making free throws. Look, he did. He stepped up and hit some big ones. And Auburn shot way better than Ole Miss did at the free throw line yesterday.
Yep.
If that flips around, maybe this game's a little bit different. So, all year, knock on wood, don't want to jinx it. But right now, man, this team has been stepping up to the line for the most part and knocking them down.
You also look at Caldwell as a senior, a guy who's been here for a long time, a guy who is beloved by Auburn fans in a crucial spot yesterday. He steps up, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, just make one. Just make one. Make it a 6-point game. I'll take 6 instead of 5. And he steps up and makes both.
Yeah.
A guy that was not shooting it well at the line, but the last two trips out, he's starting to make free throws. So to me, that's a senior stepping up in the big moment. And you love to see that. Once again, another point of this team has been so dominant in so many areas. That's another reason why I would be devastated if we got bounced in the tournament that early.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's see. Maine says, Tahad, also when Tahad tells them to set a pick, they act confused and come set a pick too slow for him. And then we go ISO and they don't come in time. I think some of what you see with that is obviously it's just not always going to run smooth. There's going to be things happen at times, miscommunications, this, that, and the other. But one thing is that like I really think the plan was for JP to be the main point guard, or at least play a lot bigger of a role than he is playing. And now you're having to have Denver kind of run the point again, like he did last year a little bit in crucial situations. And then you're having Tahad and you're having him run point more than you probably thought he would. So, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And also, Maine, like people, there's no secret Auburn's going to try to run that flex cut, right? So defenses are doing a whole lot of stuff right now to make sure that we don't even get set up in that. And luckily, Bruce, he's ready. He's ready to counter it. And you just have unselfish basketball players that are willing to make that extra pass, and leads you to having 22 assists yesterday to Ole Miss's 11 in a game that you won by 10. That's obviously a crucial part. Daniel asks, I like this question, Daniel. Talks on Jalen Williams said Auburn's dysfunction will catch up to us. Yeah, I guess there was like something that happened on the bench with CBM. I think it's just, I didn't even really see this, man. And then I looked around on social media. I was watching the game. Maybe I got up to get a drink or something when this happened. They talked way more about it on the broadcast than what I saw during the broadcast. I couldn't even find anything on social media when we know how Auburn Twitter is. Like normally any little thing will get, I couldn't really even find anything. So I don't think anything really happened. I heard Bruce mention in the post game yesterday that CBM was just frustrated at himself because of the slow start. And he thought he was playing well, and they left him alone for a minute and he was good to go. That kind of thing happens. These guys are competitive. So, I mean, as far as our dysfunction catching up with us, I thought this after the plane had to turn around and Auburn was on Good Morning America that day of the Houston game. I thought like, oh boy, we're probably going to lose a close game to Houston because they're a good team. Then they'll blow this situation up and blah, blah, blah. Didn't seem to be any issue there. 20-1, like Blake said, unanimous team in the country. I don't see this dysfunction. The only player that has been a problem consistently is Janai Howard. And let's look at what happened. There's a situation with him on a plane. We don't see him for 2-3 weeks. Hell, maybe it was a month. We didn't see him for a long time. And then you had a situation like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago at this point, and you haven't seen him play a minute since. and me and Blake talked about that at the time, Ja'Kai Howard's not going to break this team apart. It was the Tennessee game. He crashes out in the Tennessee game. Auburn still won the game. Still one of the biggest wins of the season. The team focused, just like Auburn doesn't need the one guy that's causing any kind of dysfunction. Auburn, he's not important enough to actually cause a whole lot of dysfunction. And if Bruce thinks it's going to get to that point, then Ja'Kai Howard won't be on the team. And I think he's on like his last leg anyway, from everything that we're hearing. And everything I saw yesterday, he didn't get in the game, but he was fine on the sideline. I saw him celebrating with the team and being up and all that. So, me and Blake have already shared our thoughts on him and all that. And I haven't backed off anything I said. But yeah, I don't see this dysfunction that Jalen Williams was talking about. When they heard that comment, I was just kind of like, okay. Nah, I see competitive guys, Daniel. I see some dogs. They got eliminated by Yale last year when they thought they should have made at least a Sweet 16 run. And then I think they know they're the best team in the country. And I think that to keep Janai Broome at Auburn had to fork out a little bit of NIL money. And there's some other guys on that team that are making decent little NIL checks. And I think they know what that means. And I think they're motivated by that as well. And I think they all want to come out and do what they have set out to do. And that's win a freaking national championship. And I think that's the really important thing about how far does what would be disappointing. I'm going to go back to what I did with football last year. People would get mad at me for saying stuff that I would say about Hugh Freeze. And then Hugh Freeze would come out in the press conference and say, I messed this up. And I would have to say, well, why y'all getting mad at me when he said he messed it up? Apply that logic to this basketball team. You sit these kids down and ask them what they want to do this year. They're going to tell you national championship or bust. That's what they believe. That's what they're going for. So that's the logic that I'm going to apply to it. And I say all that to say, Daniel, I disagree with everything Jalen Williams said. Because, for one, I think he's digging too much into it. I don't think there's a whole lot of dysfunction. I think he's kind of reaching there. But also, you got a whole bunch of vets that it's now or never, and they're competitive as hell. And you see how their coach coaches them. The juices are flowing, man. We got a bunch of dogs. This is what it looks like when you got a bunch of dogs. They want to win.
Where did Jay Will play? There you go. That answers it. Y'all have a great day. There you go.
I can't remember if he was Duke or North Carolina. Is he Duke?
Yeah, wasn't he Duke?
I'll double check. I know he's one of the. I know he's a North Carolina. He's a North Carolina product as far as the state.
Yeah, he played for Duke. Yeah. Because Kenny the Jet Smith played for UNC. Yeah. And that's why when he brings up Auburn right now, I'm kind of like, like I don't do I take it with a grain of salt because I know what you're trying to do. And ESPN, a lot of those guys, that's the reason I like Jay Billis a lot, man. If you would just listen to Jay Billis talk, you would never know he played at Duke. But some of these other cats, and we got the same problem in college football. It's like Desmond Howard sitting at the desk picking Notre Dame to beat Ohio State in the national championship. Come on, brother. Come on. I know your hatred runs deep for Ohio State, but come on, man. Like, you didn't believe that. You give me guys like a David Pollock, who I think ESPN let go and it was a disaster because he wasn't biased. He would tell you, hey, Georgia is really damn good. All right. But if Georgia come out and played a D game, he would tell you, he would be like, hey, that's not what I want to see. That's not it. But you got some of these other guys, man, that they would just ride the train of their old school, and they won't release a bad take about them. And so when Jay Will starts talking about Duke and Auburn and all this stuff, and I know he's got a take on Cooper Flagg and Janai. Obviously, he's going to take up for the Duke guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how we all are sometimes when we talk about our alma mater, right? Like, you're going to take up for that team, and you can see it on the TNT desk. You can see Chuck. He'll tell you straight up, hey, War Damn Eagle. He'll sit right there and root against North Carolina, and the Jet sitting right next to him. Kenny sitting right next to him, and Kenny's decked out in North Carolina stuff. It's because they're having a great time, but they're taking up for their schools, right? So, I don't listen to a whole lot of what Jay Will says. Um, it's I get what he's doing. I get what he's
Yeah.
doing.
In this day and age, man, I just don't do a whole lot of national media, period. Um, just because, for one, I mean, me and you can speak to this. Like, if you want to do a good job talking about and covering your team, you're pretty locked into your team, and you just don't know as much about some other teams, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's like I know that, say, if I was called to talk on a South Carolina football show right now, I could tell you about Lenore Sellers and the job I think Shane Beamer's doing recruiting and stuff. But
yeah,
obviously, I couldn't talk to about it the way I can Auburn and break down the entire roster, the entire 25 class, and all the 26 commitments. So a lot of the stuff with these national guys, man, it's like, okay, well, I want to go to the source and find a good podcast or a good media company that covers that team directly and really kind of dive in. Like the way when we interviewed the guys from the Dogs Barking podcast the other day with Mississippi State, it's just
yep.
we're kind of moving in that direction as media. And so yeah, I just don't, me personally, like national media takes. I'm like, okay, I'll go find a beat reporter that covers that team that really knows what it's talking about, because we see, like with football all the time. I mean, half the national media was confused as to why we hired Brian Harsin or fired him. Why don't you fire that guy not even 2 years in? It's because they didn't know anything. They didn't know. So I don't know. Jalen Williams, whatever, man, whatever. Good for him. Jason Hill says Auburn has more quad one wins in the entire ACC. That's bananas, Jason. That is bananas, dude. Growing up, it was the
Yep.
Big East, the ACC. The SEC was just an afterthought. And for Auburn of all teams, who was the doormat of the doormat league, to now have more quad one wins than the ACC, it's insane, but it's a lot of fun. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, another thing on North Carolina is, when are they going to fire Hubert Davis?
Oh,
You're out
geez.
here. Your program is getting embarrassed. This isn't North Carolina basketball. You got to switch it up, man. You got to make a change now. That team is awful. They are terrible, and the ACC has fallen as a league. Anytime, anytime there is a Duke in North Carolina, Tobacco Road, and you get embarrassed by almost 20 points, and you've got 10 losses already on your resume, that's not North Carolina basketball. The ACC is terrible. There is one team in the ACC that I'm worried about, and it's a team that we lost to at their place, and that's it. I'm not worried about anybody else in that conference. Nobody scares me.
Yeah,
That conference has fallen.
dude. Remember, like growing up, NC State. They were
That-
always something you had to deal with. Wake Forest was a program you always had to deal with. They had Chris Paul, and long history of being a good basketball
Yeah,
program. There's a lot
Georgia
of
Tech used to be pretty good.
yeah,
That
yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Bosh.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those squads have fallen off, man. That's weird. And I hated yesterday. I hated to see Virginia Tech beat Virginia by a point. That broke my heart, man. I hated to just kind of see on the bottom of my screen, oh, Virginia lost their rivalry game. That sucks.
But that's another one that has just fallen off the face of the earth, is Virginia. I was watching a game earlier this year. They went to the free throw. They went to the free throw line like 6 straight times and missed every single free throw. And I was just sitting there like, there's no way this is a D1 basketball team in a P4 conference. There's no way. This is terrible. I don't know what's happened to the ACC. I guess their run as one of the premier conferences is over, and it's moved to the SEC. Maybe all the coaches that you've hired in the past 5 to 10 years in this conference is now flourishing, and you're signing all the all the elite talent, and you're getting all the transfer portal guys, and now maybe it's time for the SEC to run basketball, and we're seeing that this year, right?
Yeah, it's the
This
coaches.
conference is
It's
stacked.
coaches, man. Nate Oates over
Yep.
Rick Barnes, Chris Beard now at Ole Miss. Like, it's everywhere. Every night you feel like you're just facing a guy. We're like, oh man, this guy can coach. And Buzz
Yeah.
over there at A&M. Like, it's a stacked league. It really is. So, but we remain undefeated in it. We remain at the top. 20-1. Like I said at the beginning, another 20-point year. I'm going to take my 7 wins in a row over Ole Miss in any sport and be happy about it and talk a little shit about it. The game Tuesday is at 8 p.m., so we should be able to come in here 7 p.m., do the normal live show. We'll see if any football news pops off. Maybe obviously probably talk a little bit about the basketball game that will be upcoming. And yeah, man, so thank you guys for joining us. Smash that thumbs up button. Share this thing out on social media, and we'll see you guys Tuesday night, 7 p.m.
War damn, baby.
War damn Eagle.